And we welcome you to Season 5 of SailGP. Final thoughts as we recap events 4 and 5. First off, it was the Rolex Los Angeles Sail Grand Prix. And then event number 5 was the Oracle San Francisco Sail Grand Prix, alongside former Emirates athlete Hannah Diamond and Olympian Stevie Morrison. I'm Todd Harris. Hannah, we'll start with you. Welcome to the broadcast team. Back-to-back weekends. How did you find it?
Oh, it's definitely a different view from here, but it's amazing to see everything behind the scenes and get to give a bit of my opinion on the action.
Stevie, big moment for the league as they go events back-to-back. Now, they're just 400 miles apart, but that is a major undertaking.
Yeah, I think it was incredible to see that they could get it done. I mean, I was pretty staggered to hear Julian talking about the logistics of the whole operation during the show, and it is fantastic. So really, for me, the sailors are going to get all the glory, and rightly so in many ways. But the shore crew, what a job! So to all the people that made it happen, thanks so much, and yeah, look forward to many more of those.
Let's get right into it, Stevie. We'll talk first about the Rolex Los Angeles Sail Grand Prix. What an event for Canada! They really came on strong.
Well, they did, because they sailed so well, didn't they? The last event in Sydney, and then they were leading and they lost that final, and you're like, oh god, can they not maybe deliver? And then wow, they delivered so well. I think it was a pretty big event for the black foils as well. Yep. There's a lot of teams really put it down. A light air event, big change of scenes, a lot of things for the crews to think about. But yeah, for Canada, it was maybe a seminal moment really for them to take that win. Giles, new skipper into the team. You know, maybe the ghost of Phil Robertson always just chirping on your shoulder a little bit, and Giles has now stamped his authority, shows he owns the team, and shows the team's, really going in the right direction.
It's amazing what one result like that, Hannah, can do for you, because as Canada came into San Francisco, they looked like they just had so much confidence in every maneuver.
Yeah, and I think with the back-to-back events, being able to build on the last event, bring the momentum, even though San Francisco is such a different venue, they spent the week in between the events together, debriefing, working on some kind of team-building aspects to make sure their communication and just the vibes are good within the team, and you can really see that as they made it to the final this time as well.
In San Francisco, though, the following weekend, day number 1 was exciting. We saw very consistent sailing from both Spain, France, Canada, but the big story was day number 2, Super Sunday, and that incident in race number 7 with Australia. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, a really scary moment for us watching, for everyone watching, but more so for the sailors on board. So really glad to hear everyone's okay, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people trying to work out exactly what happened.
Stevie, we talked about this, and you have a theory of what you think could have happened, but the most important story, honestly, is, to Hannah's point, everyone's okay.
It was one of the scariest things I've actually seen. It's petrifying to see it. So the great news is everyone's okay.
Let's talk about New Zealand, because that boat has so much talent, the Black Foils. They just didn't seem to be, they looked good in Los Angeles, but did not seem to feel comfortable in San Francisco.
No, that's right. And yesterday they did a really good job of climbing through the fleet on day 1. They weren't starting well, but we can see how powerful they can be if they can get off the start line, be in front of Mark 1. There's no way of touching them, really.
Don't want to take anything away from the big winners in San Francisco, Spain. They're just consistency. Stevie and I were talking about their report card, and it's really nothing below a 5th.
Yeah, and I think one of the huge things is just they have gelled so well together as the team. It wasn't that long ago that we were saying, can they kind of handle the high wind events? And they've really put that to rest by winning back-to-back in San Francisco.
Stevie, this team looks so comfortable, especially in San Francisco waters. Of course, they won Season 4 on the same course, and they come out today, and they just never seemed scared. They just seemed like, this is what we do.
Yeah, they did. They delivered, didn't they? They came out. They said they were. I think we perhaps didn't quite give it enough airtime in the show, but they were fast. Everyone says boat speed makes you a tactical genius, but they look locked in. Florian and Juan on the flight control and the wing trim there was just all over it. I mean, it was quite impressive, and emotional is maybe not the right word. Impressive to see Nicole. I mean, you probably know her, Hannah, quite well. I've never actually met her, but she's limping, basically crawling across the boat to get to the other side with her leg injury, and she's clearly kind of putting it all on the line.
Yeah, I mean, at the best of the times, it's really not easy to cross at the back of the boat, especially when you don't have any deflection of your tether that leads from one side to the other. So to do it with your knee and a knee brace, we can see her really struggling, but she's got to give that input, and she's really value part of that team.
Speaking of struggling, I hate to bring this up as a former member of Emirates GBR, but the first 3 events, it looked like Dylan Fletcher and the crew. It looked like Emirates GBR and Dylan Fletcher had this thing on lock, and then just last 2 events, what do you think's going on with them? They've fallen off the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, it's really tricky. I think, practice day wasn't so good for them here in San Francisco, and we kind of thought, well, maybe it was just practice day, they'll turn it around for tomorrow, but they really struggled this event. I think it kind of shows the level of the fleet and how hard everyone else is pushing, and if you just make a couple of mistakes, it puts you in the bunch, and when you're in the bunch, it's so much harder to sail. So if you've done a few events where you've been out the front, It's actually much easier when you're in the lead. You've got space, you've got time to make the right decision, and everything happens so much more quickly in the pack.
So Stevie, Emirates GBR relinquishes the overall lead after 5 events, and now it is Australia, despite that catastrophic wing failure, they are leading.
Yeah, they sailed a great event, and I mean, the points are absolutely mind-blowing. We look here and we can see that on 39 points Australia, but then in 5th place, 34 points North Star Canada. I mean, that's nothing. And then the French aren't far away either, given that they didn't have a boat until they got on the water in Sydney. So I just think it is setting itself up. And maybe the interesting question, I looked on the Instagram of Carl Langford, and he talked about a gold fleet and a silver fleet. Maybe inevitable, but I'd say that's a worry for some of those other teams. Switzerland, I feel, did well here. I was disappointed with them in LA.
Yeah.
I think they did pretty well here in San Francisco, but United States, Rotterdam, Denmark, with that massive crash that that was pretty self-inflicted. We're waiting here on Australia where exactly that's come from. Whether that was bad luck or bad judgment, we'll find out, won't we? But Rotterdam, Denmark, that was a straight bona fide mistake. And it was a very, very expensive one. So I think Rotterdam, Denmark, United States, they've got a lot of questions to answer.
All right, let's get your final thoughts after 2 busy weeks. Now it's about 5 weeks until we're in Brazil. What are the teams going through? Your final thoughts? What teams need to step up, and what teams do you feel like are in great spot right now?
Well, I think, Canada, 3 finals on the bounce and taking some great momentum forwards. I think one of the really difficult things, Rio's a new venue for these F50s, and a lot of the sailors would have raced there at the Olympics in 2016. But in completely different boats. So they're all going to have to get their head around a new venue, which is going to be really interesting to see who picks it up the quickest.
And Stevie, for you, what happens in the next 5 weeks with all these teams across the board?
Yeah, I mean, huge, isn't it? I mean, the tech team have got a lot of work to do. We want to see Rotterdam, Denmark there. I hope, beyond hope, maybe that Australia can be there. We'll see. I think Hannah's absolutely on the money. Canada, really the form team for me, sailing really, really well. Spain, must be a lot of pressure. They won last year. Everyone was pretty surprised, and then they've come out, bang, absolutely delivered here. But yeah, I think the big question for me, and I feel a bit bad in a way for banging on like a bit of a broken drum, but the United States, Germany, mainly United States, but the German team as well, Deutsche Bank, they've got to get some experience in. They've got to get something in to help them make a change.
Well, before we say goodbye, we do want to give you the official news line from SailGP on Australia. Wing failure on board the Australia SailGP Team F50 at the start of race number 7. All sailors are accounted for with no injuries reported on board. The cause of the incident is not yet known. So that will wrap things up. We have now put a cap on back-to-back California doubleheader in Los Angeles. North Star Canada gets the win in San Francisco. It is Spain, the winners of Season 4. They take the title. And now we turn our attention to May 3rd and 4th. That'll be in Rio, the NL Rio Sail Grand Prix. So for Hannah Diamond, Stevie Morrison, and our entire crew, I'm Todd Harris saying so long for now. We will see you in Brazil.